WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681, offices in Baton Rouge. Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday, about half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Excited to spend 2 hours with you here on the Hunt Palmer Show. JD Pickell in his normal spot coming up in 15 minutes. We'll talk some college football with JD. What If Wednesday coming up. If you got them, Bayou Ford chat wide open. My Twitter at HuntPalmer88 is wide open as well. We'll get to some what ifs at 1:30. Some trivia from last night at Pluckers. I had a couple of LSU football questions I thought were pretty good, as well as an SEC one that I absolutely did not know and was surprised to learn about last night. So just to shoehorn that into the back end of hour number one, we'll get that done. Dennis Allen met with the media earlier today. I've got a couple of notes on what he had to say. Travis Brown is going to jump on at 2:15. Travis covers Texas A&M for the Bryan College Station Eagle. Get an update from Aggies camp as they look forward to year one of Jimbo and Petrino on the offensive side. I'm just going to guess that hope springs very much eternal in College Station, because if my sentiment rings true and every single fan base rides the exact same wave every single year, everybody has already forgotten that things were a disaster in College Station last year and are only thinking great things are afoot until something happens between September and Thanksgiving. We'll see. That's just my thought. We'll get with Travis Brown at 2:15 to talk about it. College football bowl projections from ESPN are out. Got Stuart Mandel saying Florida's going to go 1-7 in the league. That's something we'll talk about in hour number two. So lots and lots of football to get to over the next couple of hours, and glad you were spending some time with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I want to start with some sound from Brian Kelly yesterday. As you know, LSU started school on Monday. The football team was off yesterday. They got back into the routine of things and practicing after school, and Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday evening. Some of what he was talking about dealt with the freshmen yesterday and just how involved they're going to be. It's a pretty old team that LSU has. It's old up front. It's old at quarterback. It's old at running back. It's old in the secondary. It's got some real veterans on the defensive front as well. The wide receivers are pretty old. Like, there's not a lot of spots for freshmen to bust into the lineup and make an early impact. And that's a good thing. Like, that is a very good thing to have in a program. If you're relying on a ton of freshmen, unless you're John Calipari, you may have some significant issues. And Calipari may have some issues anyway with some freshmen. But you get the point of what I'm trying to get at. And I go back to this because I interviewed Shea Dixon last week at the Alumni Association event, and I said, we talked some recruiting. What about some freshmen that may break through? And Shea kind of, it might not be a lot of freshmen that do break through. But if you were listening on Monday and paying attention to Twitter and whatnot on Saturday, you know that a couple of freshmen did do some noteworthy things. And the first was Zalance Hurd.
Well, he certainly has developed, just the understanding of the offense in itself, from terminology to technique to, it's college football. He's going to, there were guys he went against last year that, quite frankly, there was mismatches, maybe 80% of the time, 90% of the time, maybe 99% of the time. So now he's going up against Savion Jones, and he's going up against some pretty impressive football players. So that's a whole new thing for him to deal with. So the rigors of that, right? Each and every day. So he's going through a lot of that.
I'll get to this Lance Hurd thing in a second, but that soundbite makes me laugh because when Brian Kelly said, in high school, he's 6'6", 340, it's kind of a mismatch 80% of the time. And that's one of those things where you say something, and then you realize, wait, that was way off. So Lance Hurd having a mismatch 80% of the time in high school is very generous. And then he said at 90%, maybe 99% of the time, there are very few snaps that Lance Hurd is taking at Neville that he doesn't have a pretty sizable advantage over the guy across the line of scrimmage. But I digress to the point that he's making, is that he's developing, he's understanding terminology, and hey, he's going to practice and he's having to deal with Savion Jones. And on one hand, that's 100% true, and I'll get to. On the other hand, as I continue to kind of divert off this quote and go off on a few different limbs and branches, I love that he mentioned Savion Jones, because that guy needs to have 7, 8, 9 sacks this year. Needs to happen. But as far as Lance Hurd goes, I thought it was noteworthy at the scrimmage that he spent some time with the first team at right tackle and that Emory Jones kicked down. That's something that we have spoken about since he signed his letter of intent. That is something that I believed was a little bit presumptuous, because you had Will Campbell and Emory Jones that played very well as freshmen last year, and it just assumed, hey, 5-star freshmen, they come in on the offensive line, they just help immediately, let's go. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying to expect it is a little more than I was willing to do the 1st of August, okay? But him doing that on Saturday, to me, shows, okay, this is a possibility, and it's something that they're taking an earnest look at the end of camp. Now, the question was posed to Brian Kelly. Okay, so is Lance Hurd competing for a starting job now?
He's a guy that, we're giving, reps to. We got to find the best 5 guys, and then the next is the 6th and 7th. So he's in the mix, and he's out there competing hard.
I like the depth of the offensive line. And look, either way you slice it, you've either got the right side of the line with your center at Charles Turner, and then you've got Miles Frazier, or Garrett Dellinger, and then you've got Emory Jones on the outside. Or you can shuffle those pieces and have Miles Frazier be a reserve. And that's a guy who started a lot of games for you. So either you've got a precocious talent in Emory Jones, who is starting as a freshman, or you've got him as your reserve, and then you've got Garrett Dellinger there, and then you've got Marlon Martinez, who's played a lot as well. And I think if you enter this season with 8 guys you feel good about, you're in as good a spot as anybody in college football. There aren't a lot of college football programs that have 10 offensive linemen ready to roll. There aren't. You'd love that. That's a goal. That's ideal. It's not necessarily all that realistic. 8 you can get to. And I think LSU is to 8. If you count Campbell, Dellinger, Turner, Frazier, Jones, and then you turn over to your reserves there, and you have Lance Hurd and Marlon Martinez, you're pretty well there. So that's a good start to me up front, and an interesting storyline that we'll watch against Florida State. I am personally, and we'll talk about this next week, not wild about putting Lance Hurd on an island with Jared Verse in his first college game. I'd probably rather have Emory Jones out there, but it'll be something that we discuss next week as we talk about LSU and Florida State. Another freshman that obviously turned some heads on Saturday. Brian Kelly talked about Caleb Jackson.
We tend to overreact to, these kinds of situations. Was that a product of bad tackling, or was that great running, right? Maybe it's a little bit of both. Now, let's not take anything away from the kid. He's done a really good job. But there are other facets that he's going to have to continue to work on. We are really excited about his future here, but there's clearly more work to be done.
And that's totally fair. Yes, Caleb Jackson juked 2 guys and outrun the rest of the second-team defense to the end zone for a 70-yard touchdown. That is impressive to look at. And I said on Monday, there are a couple of running backs on this team who are going to get carries that I don't think have the capabilities of making that run. Doesn't mean they're terrible players. Doesn't mean they don't have a role. I'm just saying their skill set doesn't allow for that. Caleb Jackson's does. The other touchdown he had that was a 20-yarder. Bounced it outside, outran some people, powered it in. The skill set's there. But is there work to be done? Sure. There's a lot that a freshman running back has to take in and learn. And what Brian Kelly has been insistent upon, and he was insistent upon yesterday, is that the reps at the top are probably going to go to the older guys, especially when you get out there against Florida State in a monster football game next weekend. I love Caleb Jackson's explosiveness. I think he's got a huge amount of potential at LSU. Do I want him out there over Josh Williams or Noah Cain on the first drive next weekend? No. I'd like the guy who's not overwhelmed by the moment, who knows where to be, who's going to get what's blocked, and is going to pick up pass protection. Talk to me in a month. When games have been played, when there's a little of seasoning there, Caleb Jackson, for my money, can carry it 26 times against Grambling. That'd be great to me. Play him the whole game. I think it's awesome. Florida State, where one missed assignment gets your quarterback crushed and you got a strip sack? One try to do too much play and you're not taking care of the football and the high school kids can't punch it loose, but Florida State's grown man at linebacker can? Not really interested. If you don't have an alternative, then fine. You go with the freshman and you go. LSU's got 7 alternatives, 6 to the freshman. I think Caleb Jackson's role can grow massively moving forward. For the first game, I'm okay with the older guys. A couple more housekeeping items from Brian Kelly. He was asked about a timeline on number 7 and number 18.
We've given it great thought, and it's certainly something that I know a lot of people are anticipating. I would say probably by the end of this week we'll have some kind of announcement.
I've got my guesses, if those are worth anything. I think Josh Williams will wear 18. I think that story, that perseverance. He's from here. Well, he's from Texas. I think he's very much the 18 candidate. As far as 7 goes, my guess is a chalk when it's Malik. He's the best playmaker they've got. If you make me give a second option for both, I would go maybe Noah Cain on 18 and maybe Aaron Anderson at 7. That would be my alternative guesses. But if I've got to put a ticket down, it's on Josh Williams and Malik Neighbors. And the last one, because this is something we talked about yesterday as they started school on Monday and started practice again yesterday. Okay, how much is continuing to work on LSU and how much of your focus is now on Florida State? We'll get to that here shortly. But essentially the gist of it was, I think there's still a lot to be done as far as coaching our team and our guys. And obviously we prepare for a lot of SEC games straight ahead with just 1 week to prepare, and that's what we're normally doing. So there's no rush in getting into it, but I do think that it's going to be an easing into Florida State over the next 2 days. And by the time they get to Thursday or Friday, I think it's full steam ahead with LSU and Florida State preparation for this team. So that's a look at what Brian Kelly had to say yesterday in front of the assembled media. LSU back on the practice field this afternoon following all of their school duties. Busy Wednesday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. When we come back next, get some predictions on the season from our guy JD Piquel of On 3 Sports. That's next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from the brand new Town Square Pizza in downtown Baton Rouge. Dwayne Colucci is with us, Matt Humans is with us, and Jacob Hester making an appearance on Live at Lunch. It's Thursday, 11 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our next guest on the Jim's Firearms Hotline gets excited when they lay the first cone down on the 105-degree grass the 1st of August. I can't imagine how he's feeling now that they're like striping the field in Dublin. They're getting ready to roll in Nashville. We got week 0 football, JD.
How about it, baby? How about it? We're back. We're back. No more cones. No more ball camp. We got classes. We got ball. Phenomenal to be on with you, brother. How we doing?
Doing well. JD Vaquel of On3 Sports, of course, our guest each and every Wednesday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I wanted to kind of go with some predictions and some kind of your thoughts as we look through some conferences this year. First of all, let's just stay at home here. I mean, who do you like to win the SEC West? Are you buying that Alabama's got some cracks and that LSU can break through, or is there somebody else you like?
You know, I think it's Bama. I think, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, Hunt, the last couple of times we've been on. Like, I just have such a hard time buying into the Nick Saban is down conversation. And I understand that Bama wasn't, vintage Bama they were supposed to be last year. I get all that. But I think as a whole, when we look at what they bring from a talent perspective, I mean, they've been top 2 in the country in terms of recruiting the last couple of years. They have Nick Saban, who is the greatest coach of all time, still drawing it up for them. Let's see, what else? I mean, Bama's still Bama, in my opinion. Like, they are still going to be one of those teams. Whoa, we got people fired up for college football season next to me, huh? That was not at me. That was people in the Chick-fil-A drive-through line getting fired up about what we got going on here. No, all things considered, man, I mean, Nick Saban, the recruiting classes they've piled in, I think it's going to be a different approach for them like we've talked about. Like, I don't think we're going to have the same kind of Alabama team where they're trying to go through the quarterback. Like, they're going to run the football, and they're going to control the tempo. So I'm excited to watch Bama this year. I think they have everybody exactly where Saban wants them.
Do you think that they run the table then in the regular season?
I do. I think they get to Atlanta. I think they're undefeated. I think that they end up finding a way into the college football playoff. Right? Like I think it's one of those situations where Saban and company, everyone is just kind of written them off, and Bama's down, and they couldn't do it with Bryce Young and Will Anderson. Well, can they do it this year? Like there's no way. And then lo and behold, Bama does what Bama does, and the way that I put it in my mind is it would be a little bit more valid to have the concerns about Bama if they were going to have the same approach. Like, Bama's going to be just a totally different outfit, totally different philosophy offensively. And as a whole, like, the talent is still very much there. So just because the animal looks a little bit different that Alabama's going to be this year, I think they're still going to just eat some people's faces and smile about it the same way they have in previous years.
Is there any chance anybody beats Georgia before Christmas?
Man, is there a chance? Absolutely. I think you look at November 11th, they got Ole Miss, and you can never count out the lane train and whatever they got dialed up, because whenever you play Georgia, it's going to be a Super Bowl kind of game for the opposition. You want to take down the big dog, no pun intended. Then the next week you go to Neyland. So, I mean, those are the two you probably circle. Those are the two that everyone's going to circle. I think when it comes to November, that's going to be the point in time where Georgia's the strongest. If you're going to get them, I think you got to get them sometime in September, early October. So maybe you ask South Carolina to step up to the plate and swing for the fence. But as a whole, man, I just think Georgia's going to be a version of what they were last year, and I think that they're going to be on a tear yet again.
Are you one of the folks that thinks we're going to see Florida State and Clemson play twice this year? And if so, who wins the more important one, the second round?
Isn't that so boring?
Yeah.
But yes, I'm in that group, which is I'm ashamed to say I'm in that group. I think either way you slice it, I think it is going to be a split. Like, I don't think we see one of these teams go 2-0 against the other. I think for Clemson, it may take a second for that offense to click, but once it does, the horsepower that they have within that wide receiver room that I think is going to be more healthy this year, they're going to be able to open up a little bit. I mean, they won 10 games last year with a subpar offensive philosophy and, to be honest, subpar quarterback play. No shade to DJ Uiagalelei. So I think that Clemson ends up probably dropping the first game against Florida State. I think they find themselves right back in that title game with the Florida State-Clemson matchup. And I think at that point the offense is enough to get them over the hump against the Noles. So either way, going to be tough, like I said, to go 2-0. But I got Clemson coming out of the ACC, huh?
Who's your Big Ten winner?
Yeah, I'm just so boring with these. I got Michigan, and I got.
I'm not asking you to pick Northwestern here. I mean, Michigan beating Ohio State for a third year would be very noteworthy to me. They've been owned for a
100%.
decade.
No, 100%. And I think the tough part about it right now in August too is we're forced to pick rosters and coaches and proven production, and we have the biggest question marks to beating Michigan is who's playing quarterback at Ohio State and what's that quarterback at Penn State going to be like. And right now, I don't have any data points on either of those. So until proven otherwise, I see a Michigan team with top 5 returning production with a quarterback with tons of ability. And if they can rev that engine a little bit and have some of his pass catchers step up, like Michigan is going to be very, very lethal for the third year in a row. And also they get Ohio State at the crib. So as a whole, I think Michigan's probably set to run the table yet again. But obviously you have to go out and do it. You have to handle that spotlight, which I think is a little bit brighter than maybe it has been the past couple of years in Ann Arbor. But still, I think they go for 3 in a row, and I think they win the Big Ten.
Swan song for Texas and OU over in the Big 12. How do you see that league?
I think Texas and OU meet in the Big 12 title. I think Oklahoma is substantially improved from a season ago. For me, if it's not this year for Texas, I have trouble wondering, when it's going to be for Steve Sarkisian. Not that they can't do it, not that, they should fire him or anything like that. I think just for this year, they've built to a year like this. You got a culture in their third year. And also, I mean, I think there needs to be maybe a little bit more said about the depth at Texas overall. Like, this is a very, very deep team, not just in the wide receiver room, but defensively they've got more depth than they've had in the past. Got a lot of depth in the offensive line. Someone close to that operation told me this is one of the deepest they've had in the last decade. So they feel really good about where they stand to go, the length of a 12-game season. I'm too impressed with Quinn Ewers and the, here's that word that we're always saying with him, the potential of what he could be. Man, I'm rolling with Ewers. I'm rolling with the Longhorns, and I think that they get over the hump and get a Big 12 title before they throw up the deuces.
How about, speaking of throwing up the deuces, it's fight on and it's deuces to the Pac-12 for USC. Did they go out on top?
There's so much made about USC's defense, and that's like 1,000,000% true. Like to win a national title, defense has to be better. They're going to have better players. I could see a world where Caleb Williams just JanSport fashion throws USC on his back and just propels them to a Pac-12 title. I really do. I think he's that talented. I think they have that much offensively. Fortunately for him, I think they will be better defensively to kind of maybe make things a little bit more of an asset for them, so they're not just trying to play first 55 every single Saturday afternoon. But I think USC wins. I think this too, like we talked about last time we were on here, like it's going to be a lot of really good football games in that conference, kicking off right around 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Like we got to make sure we stock up on the caffeine intake here, so we're ready to watch some good ball on the West Coast.
I'm kind of the opposite because I finish my work at like midnight, so I get home a little after midnight after the post-game show, and I'm going to try to like decompress. So we pour a beverage and we watch Pac-12 football at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's really the only option I have. So
Is that so hard?
No.
Why can't people got to take a page out of that playbook now? Like we call ourselves college football fans, but we're just dismissing a third of some of the best ball being played on that day. Like, come on now, that is 100% the play. I'm with you.
A lot of folks in this market are a little ahead of me on the alcohol train in terms of time of day. I'm looking at about a midnight pour. They're looking at about an 8 a.m. pour. So I got a little more longevity than they do at that point in the on the clock. But somebody's got to do it. I'm willing to take that mantle. All right, we've gone through the conferences. Do you have kind of a lean towards your Final Four at this point as we push off the dock this weekend?
We talked about it a little bit. I mean, I think it's Alabama. I think it's Georgia. So out of the SEC, I think you probably have Georgia on the table. Bama gets in as a one-loss, second place team in the SEC. I think USC, like we talked about a little bit. I mean, I have such a hard time believing that Lincoln Riley and company don't find a way to separate themselves in that conference. I think they're going to be able to score their way out of a lot of games. And then when it comes to that second spot, when it comes to how it's going to shake out, you probably have Georgia 1, probably Bama 4, USC 3. I think you have Michigan sitting there right at 2, same situation, running the table. And I think we find ourselves with a nice little foursome there, quite a few blue bloods in the mix there, and kind of shifting our way out of this 4-team college football playoff in style.
That would be a lot of blue bloods if, in fact, that was and I would watch Caleb Williams play against one of these SEC defenses. That would be just fine with me. I'd rather Jaden Daniels be in there, quite frankly, but doesn't appear to be on the docket for you right now. We have some time to get there. So at this point, we look towards week 0. What are you interested in watching this weekend?
Man, I want to see how the strength conditioning staff is warming these guys up. I want to see how we're pouring the Gatorade. Hey, how about Sam Hartman and the receiving corps at Notre Dame? Like, they have a ton of, again, potential, that word we're using a lot right now before week 0. They got a lot of firepower with Sam Hartman at quarterback, but, like, you brought him in to be the guy at South Bend and to man that offense for a reason. Do you have anybody that can capitalize on it? A lot of untapped potential for him, what he did at Wake Forest and what's going to be available to Notre Dame. Do you have some receivers that can just look crisp? And I don't think it matters for Navy. I mean, in that game, they're favored by 20.5. Like, they should be able to win this game pretty handily. But week 3, they go to NC State. We know these Dave Doering coach defenses are going to be solid. They're going to bring a little bit of something for them to deal with. So I'm curious to see if they have a good base to build off of going forward. And if they're looking like they got some mojo, some rhythm starting week 0.
Are you buying Marcus Freeman as the head coach at Notre Dame?
And I think he just made Notre Dame cool again. And I think that's one of the most interesting stories in college football is Brian Kelly left Notre Dame and then went to LSU because of resources and the ways he felt like he was handcuffed, which is I mean, completely valid based on what he's done at LSU and proof is in the pudding there. But Marcus Freeman, the way he's recruiting right now, if they're able to sustain it until signing day, which is a whole other task, I mean, they're going to have a chance to get some really good players on campus there, which is kind of the name of the game and kind of been the ceiling for Notre Dame the last few years in the modern college football era, being able to beat those powers in the SEC. So I'm buying Marcus Freeman. I don't know if there's another job he would leave for, and that's a whole other conversation in itself, as he's very early on his time in South Bend. But as a whole, I think he's a great football mind, what he did as a DC at Cincinnati. And I think the players respond to him well. I mean, it's very, very evident. I mean, when he got announced as the guy in South Bend, like you saw that video, that weight room went crazy. So I'm very, very excited to see the way things trend for him in South Bend, and just the track record as he continues to kind of figure it out as an actual head coach. He's figuring it out in a spotlight, much like Ryan Day and much like a lot of the other coaches that just got their first job as a head coach. Oh, by the way, it's one of the biggest brands in college football.
He's J.D. Piquel, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports YouTube channel. Check him out daily right there and every Wednesday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Enjoy some ball this weekend, sir. We'll talk next week.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Appreciate you, Hunt.
You bet. That's J.D. Piquel, our guy, every single Wednesday at 1:15. Now it's Wednesday at 1:30. That means it's What If Wednesday. That's next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Not before I tell you about LWCC, but now you know it. LWCC is Louisiana loyal, and they've made it their mission to elevate and celebrate champions of Louisiana. They always tell me, look, Louisiana is loved. People love to come to Louisiana and experience the culture and the food and the music and the football and the winter weather, but it should be admired as well, and that's because of people like Corey Barr and other champions of Louisiana. So they've got their Champions of Louisiana campaign. Check it out at lwcc.com/champions. You can see all the champions that we have talked about over the last year and a half. Corey Barr, we've told you about all summer long. Chef who's grown national acclaim, but comes back home to Monroe to operate his 3 businesses because Louisiana is important to him. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. Brian Kelly updates fall camp. We'll let you hear from the coach, and we'll continue our tour around the SEC, checking in on Missouri. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Appreciate JD Piquel for being with us as he is each and every Wednesday. Looking forward to our chat coming up at 2:15 with Travis Brown of the Bryan College Station Eagle, talking about the Texas A&M Aggies and where things stand in Aggie land as they enter this season. But it is 1:30 on Wednesday. That means it's time for What If Wednesday.
Space. Reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, first one here. What if you could keep one athlete from the past injury-free?
Oh, that's easy. That's Tiger. And it's not even close. I can't even think of who would be second. I mean,
I've got an interesting one. I saw this and I thought about it for a little bit, but go ahead.
I mean, Tiger's is easily the greatest golfer who ever lived, and he didn't get to Jack, and he came up 4 short. But the statistics that he rolled out with making cuts and winning events and top tens, and even something as seemingly trivial in his career as winning 3 U.S. amateurs, which starts with all those players, and you got to play match play where you've got to beat the guy. Like his record is significantly better than anyone's in the history of golf. And if he just could have kept it together and not done the Army training and not had whatever happened with he and Elin that night and the car wreck and all that stuff, and he could have had the health of Mickelson or even Nicklaus, like I think he would have gotten there, but he just could not stay healthy. His body fought him the whole way, and now it doesn't matter to us, the sports fan, but there's also another side of this that goes, man, he's gonna have to live in that body for the next umpteen whatever years, and like it's just breaking down. Like it's tough for him to walk, and the back's been fused, and like the whole, it's just. The body just gave up, and if we could see that unblemished, it would be something else. I mean, of course, you could go back to Bo Jackson, and you could even do something as Yao Ming was a pretty talented dude that was doing things that nobody that was 7'6" was doing, but he couldn't get on the court. I mean, there are a lot of them, but for me, it's Tiger by a long shot.
Mine is actually Brandon Roy in the NBA. He had a lot of knee problems, so he only played 5 years, but he was Rookie of the Year his first year. He's All-NBA, 3-time All-Star until he had the really bad issues and retired, tried to come back. It didn't work. But I think Brandon Roy could have been one of the best players of that decade, and probably could have became on the same level as a guy like, I mean, in that era, same era, time as like Blake Griffin, guys that were like big-time stars in that time in the NBA.
When you say that, it brings me to Derrick Rose.
Yeah,
who got to the top and won an MVP and was carrying the Bulls to their only relevance post Jordan, and he couldn't stay healthy either. So there are a few, but Tiger dwarfs them to me.
All right, what if you could pick your seat in Tiger Stadium?
I had this discussion with some friends earlier, and I've sat just about everywhere. I spent my years in the student section, of course. Growing up, a buddy had tickets on the east side right around the 30, which were hot for those 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock games. But for a kid, I didn't really care. In high school, when I got my car, I was able to come down and drive my junior and senior year. My dad would get me one ticket, and I would come down and stay with my aunt and uncle. And I would sit really where the visitors sit, under that underhang. I've sat in the south end zone. I've obviously sat in the press box. I've been in the stadium club. Been in the suite level. Like, I understand to an extent some people that say, hey, you got to be down in it. You got to be down here in the south end zone. And I have a blast down there. But the comfort of like that premium seating, I mean, I'm in the press box now, so it is what it is. And we'll be there hopefully for the foreseeable future. But like the comfort of the suite, like I'm not going to turn that down. I get the people that say kind of sterile, you got to be down in it. But like, you know, having the ice chest right there, having a fridge right there, they bring you some food in. Like, I haven't done that much, but like, it's not bad. Like, if I'm going to pick my seat, as good as I like the south end zone, as much as I love being in the student section during my time there, I'm going to take the comfort of the suite. Like, I'm sorry.
All right, moving on.
But I'm
here.
relegated to the press box anyway, so it is what it is.
Press box isn't bad.
It's not bad. It's better when they turn the drink fountain on, which it wasn't on Saturday, but I've complained about that.
Yeah. What if you could bring one non-QB former Saints player back to this team?
So we did this with LSU a couple weeks ago. So for the Saints, as I look at this team, and you think about the all-time greats, and I can't bring Breeze back, obviously. Like, to me, I'm gonna go Willie Roaf. Like, he's a Hall of Famer, left tackle. You've got basically a rookie at left tackle right now who might be a really good player in time, but if I'm able to put him on that left tackle and help keep Carr upright and help run the ball with what should be a pretty good stable of backs when Kamara comes back, that's going to trump, to me, Ricky Jackson on the edge, although I'd really like that, trust me. At linebacker, Sam Mills as well. That's going to trump those guys. And I've got Cam Jordan and DeMario Davis, who are, I think, all-time Saints when their time is up, but they're on the team. So, to me, I'm going to go out at to left tackle and take Willie Roaf.
All right, this is from the Bayou Ford chat. What if Brooks Koepka clutches in the Ryder Cup, giving us the win, and bares his chest, revealing a Live for Life tattoo?
That seems like it's directed at me, no? I guess that's the point of the exercise. I'll be thrilled if Brooks Koepka is clutching the Ryder Cup and we win. He's got to be picked for the team because he didn't qualify automatically. But no matter what tour you play on, when those 12 guys get picked and they go out there in Rome, like, I'm in. I don't care if I don't like their choice of clothing on the PGA Tour. I don't like the way they speak to the media. I don't like what tour they play on. None of that matters when you put on the red, white, and blue and you go play Europe. Like, at that point, I'm all in. There have been plenty of guys who have played for my teams over the years that I don't think were perfect humanitarians or people that I agreed with necessarily off the playing field. I was living and dying with every pitch Aroldis Chapman threw for the Cubs, and this guy, used an assault rifle in his garage spraying bullets everywhere and got suspended for a long time. I don't know that he's headed for canonization and sainthood at any time in the near future. And certainly don't mean to say picking a golf tour is the same as that. I just mean I can put any differences aside once you put my laundry on. And for that point, Brooks would do that. I'd be all for it. So hopefully, if he is picked, he's incredible. I'll have my doubts.
Do you think they'll pick him?
I don't. I think that the old guard that still doesn't have direct influence, but is still kind of there, talking to Zach Johnson, and it's Freddie Couples, and it's those guys, and then we're not doing that. Take one of the guys who plays on the tour. That's what I think they're going to do.
I did hear Zach Johnson say, I haven't been able to see how he's been playing, only in the majors. So it seems kind of.
I mean, that's the point. It's like, you could go to the Live DC event if you wanted to. They're not going to turn you away. Trust me. But yeah, I just don't think they're going to pick any Live guys.
All right, last one here. What if Barry Sanders didn't retire early from the NFL?
Probably still would have had no playoff wins. I'd have to guess, playing with
he stayed with the Lions,
with that team. But yeah, I mean that's a what if. He and Megatron are two of the most talented guys to ever step away, and it comes in the same organization. And you can't imagine that that's too much of a coincidence.
Yeah.
That living in that city, losing that many games in that organization, eventually you're just like, well, I got a lot of money now, and I'm about done. And so it wouldn't be crazy to call him the most gifted back ever. I mean, you would go to Jim Brown and you would go to O.J. Simpson Walter Payton, and you would certainly go to Adrian Peterson in terms of physical gifts. I know Emmett outrushed them all, but I don't think anybody would put him necessarily in that talent class. He was a great player on a great group of teams. But Barry Sanders, with that change of direction and quickness and shifting it, like there's never been anybody quite like that. And so that's certainly a great what if. He's still a Hall of Famer and still probably doesn't win much, but it'd be fun to put some more highlights up because that guy could really, really go. All right, that's it for What If Wednesday. I appreciate y'all for checking in with that. When we come back, as y'all know, I host Pluckers Trivia every Tuesday night, and I've only done this once or twice, but I had a couple of good LSU football questions that I want to ask, and one SEC football question that I had no idea was the answer. And so I'll ask those and see how Beck does and how you, the listener, do. So come back for a little bit of SEC football and LSU trivia. That's next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. We're telling you about it every single day because it's just very, very exciting news for our part of the world. This collaboration is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana with a fully integrated cancer program that's based on MD Anderson's practice standards and treatment plans. There are customized treatment plans for every single patient. There's access to MD Anderson's protocols and practice standards, as well as their specialists and their researchers. This collaboration is going to offer access to select clinical trials available to eligible patients in our area, and there are 7 locations that are going to open across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and Baton Rouge, and Ochsner and MD Anderson are working together to certify additional sites moving forward in the future. We all know someone who has had cancer. We've all been affected by cancer one way or another. So this is just really, really exciting news for our state. If you want more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, go to ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644.
Thursday's OTB. One day closer to college football, we continue to break down the Tigers and the Saints. Plus, we'll follow our college football preview with a little NFL off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, Beck, let's do some trivia before we start hour 2 with a little bit of Saints talk. We get to Travis Brown covering A&M at 2:15. This is from Pucker's Trivia last night. Our last round is always LSU football, so I invite you to come out if you think you know a thing or two about LSU football and hang with us at 8:30 on Tuesdays. Beck, who is the last Louisiana high school graduate to start a game at quarterback for LSU?
Marcus Randall?
Oh, God. Beck, that's not that close. TJ
shoot. No, oh, my gosh.
It was Lowell Narcisse.
Wow.
It was Lowell Narcisse and
yeah,
then
TJ Finley and the Ponchatoula. Golly. I was going too far back.
Lowell Narcisse was the correct answer.
Really?
Yeah.
What with TJ Finley?
Why am I saying Lowell Narcisse?
Yeah, TJ
John
Finley.
Trey Kirkland is the correct answer.
Yeah, well.
John Trey Kirkland is the correct answer. Just looking at the river parishes there, quarterbacks. That was not your best effort there.
No, I knew that, but I don't know why.
Who was the starting quarterback the last game Les Miles ever coached at LSU?
Danny Etling?
Danny Etling is correct. Who was the starting quarterback for LSU in the first SEC championship game win in Tiger history?
Oh, wow. Well, they didn't have it.
In the championship game.
Okay. Ryan Perilou?
That is incorrect. Rohan Davey would be the correct answer there for your LSU football trivia. And then one more. This is a really tough one. Usually I have one that's like really tough. This one would qualify as very difficult. I would not have gotten this one right. I may have gotten 1 out of 2, but Brian Kelly beat LSU twice in bowl games while he was at Notre Dame. Who were his 2 starting quarterbacks in those 2 games?
Was it Wimbush and Ian Book?
Wimbush is correct. However,
Ian Book didn't start.
start. He came in for Wimbush, and the other one was Malik Zaire for Notre Dame. Those two losses for LSU. So that's your LSU football trivia. This is one that I discovered yesterday in the course of like general looking around for trivia questions, and I had no idea. So I'm looking for the name of the school. What SEC school has its football stadium named after the founder of Aflac?
Oh, wow.
I had no idea.
It's an SEC school.
I just assume like all the names. I know all the names of the stadiums. I just assume they're like coaches or something. I didn't realize who this one was named for. It's named for the founder of Aflac. You just got to throw a school out there. You got a 1 out of 13 chance that I don't think you're going to bet LSU.
No.
So you got a 1 out of 13 chance.
Well, I know I've seen Nick Saban in the Aflac commercial,
Yeah.
so maybe Alabama.
That is incorrect. There's his name for Ball Bear Bryant as well as
I know Denny. I thought Denny.
Denny was
maybe.
the president of their university at one point. You want to try again?
Let's say, man, what stadiums even have names after people? Kentucky?
It is not Kentucky. Theirs is actually named Kroger Field now for the grocery store, which is an embarrassment on its own. The founder of Aflac's name was Lloyd Davis Wade.
Oh, Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. He obviously made a bunch of money in the insurance game, and he left a bunch of money to Mississippi State for their stadium renovations. I had no idea. I just assumed there was a Davis who was a coach, a Wade who was a coach or something, somebody that founded the university or something. I mean, I knew that, and so I could have narrowed it down. It's like I knew General Nealon was a coach over at Tennessee, and I knew that Williams Bryce was a woman who died who actually gave a ton of money to South Carolina, because in the Steve Spurrier documentary that the SEC Network did, he said at the time he took over, only one person had ever given $1 million to South Carolina athletics, and it was Miss Williams-Brice whose name was on the stadium. So I would have been able to avoid that one. I don't know who Donald W. Reynolds is. That's Arkansas's. I don't know what he did. Maybe somebody in the Bayou Ford chat does. But hey, and I knew that Shug Jordan, and I knew that was a coach, and I didn't think. But founder of Aflac, Mr. Davis Wade. Just what a beautiful facility they've got there in Starkville. So there's your trivia on this Wednesday afternoon. I'll tell you, I would not have done well on the Notre Dame quarterbacks, and I would not have known Davis Wade. Would have gotten SEC quarterback for LSU. And I actually, the way that I put the question together, the last Louisiana high school graduate, I just put TJ Finley on my sheet as an answer, and I knew that while I was grading, if someone put an answer and it made me think, I could go look it up. And the first team that turned it in put John Trey Kirkland, and I went, "You're actually correct. That is the correct answer." So I changed my answer sheet there. So there's just a little sample of what you get on Tuesdays at Pluckers. Opened the show today talking about Brian Kelly's press conference yesterday. Then we had JD Piquel of On 3 Sports on talking college football nationwide. It was What If Wednesday. That's all on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or of course on YouTube. We want you to subscribe to Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. Get all of your football content right to your YouTube homepage. When we come back, Dennis Allen met with the media a little bit earlier, got some headlines from that. Travis Brown of the Bryan College Station Eagle talking Aggies at 2:15. So come back after Sports Center on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Defensive tackle Chris Jones indicated on social media he's willing to continue his contract holdout from the Chiefs until Week 8, is willing to forfeit his weekly game check about $1 million because he can afford it. Coach Andy Reid said there has been no communication with Jones. Aaron Rodgers' blindside protector cleared to practice. Left tackle Dwayne Brown coming back from rotator cuff surgery, hoping to practice tomorrow. He won't play in Saturday's preseason finale when Rodgers is set to make his Jets debut. Saturday, important for Rodgers, his teammates, and coaches, points out ESPN NFL analyst Louis Riddick.
For Aaron, it's like, look, I'm going to give you a dry run of what to expect from me, and not just the players. As we were talking about this dynamic between him and Roberts, like they need to all see too. And when the game is on the line, I know it's preseason, I'm going to show you a little bit about what I expect from you when you're bringing the calls into me, calling timeouts, game management.
Robert Essen head coach Robert Saleh, Georgia running back Branson Robinson out for the season with a knee injury. Baseball, Mariners, winners of 8 straight, trail the White Sox 1-0, bottom third. Seattle, a game out of first in the American League West.
Long summer days call for extra hands. Hire fast with Indeed. Their hiring solution helps attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. It is a Wednesday afternoon, half your work week in the rearview mirror. We're officially working towards the weekend, the last one without LSU football until Halloween. So enjoy it. You want to watch Week 0 football? Get after it. I'm going to go play a couple rounds of golf up in Shreveport, pawn the kid off on my mom, tell her to deal with him. I'm going out to play 18 because those opportunities don't come a lot for me in the fall. I use air quotes there as we assume the fall kind of starts next week, even though we know it's a little warm, but that's all right. The weekend final one before SEC football really cranks up is just about upon us. But I want to talk about the Saints here in segment number 1. Yesterday during the show, I went through the Saints roster and kind of started looking at spots where they're going to have to make some decisions on the 53. And I spent some time at tight end where I think the Saints are looking at keeping 4. And I thought, man, that just seems like a lot. I know that Taysom Hill's not a traditional tight end. I know that Juwan Johnson's not exactly a traditional tight end, but for this era of football and with his skill set, he's a really good player. He's a guy that is technically your tight end, even though I'm not going to ask him to get in there and do a bunch of heavy-duty pass protection. Foster Moreau can do some of that. But I look at a 37-year-old Jimmy Graham, and I think that he would be the odd man out here. And I certainly didn't play last year, and then you look back at 2021, and he played in 15 games, only started 6 of them, and he caught 14 balls for 167 yards. It's a day at the office for Jamar Chase. This was a year for Jimmy Graham. And the year before that, in 2020, the COVID year in Chicago, he did make 50 receptions, but that was 3 years ago. And when I look at linebacker and I look at defensive front, and look at some of the versatility of some of those guys, and then I look at Jimmy Graham, and I don't necessarily see a lot of versatility. I see a guy who doesn't run quite well like he did and doesn't jump quite like he did, but is tall. But I think that what he can do, the other guys in that room can also help do. So it won't shock me at all if they keep him, and it won't make me think that the team is doomed if they keep him. I just think there may be other places they can go with that roster spot. But as someone astutely pointed out in the Bayou Ford chat yesterday as I was talking about this, it's like, well, do we know if he's okay? And my answer to that was no, I'm not really sure. I'm just kind of speaking in football terms, but I guess that's a little bit more important. The good news is that Jimmy Graham was at practice today, and Dennis Allen spoke with the media after practice and talked about what he saw from the veteran tight end.
Look, I thought he looked good today. I think, we're going to keep evaluating that, but, certainly that was good to see the type of day he had today. He's a big target, and, made some plays in a contested environment, a couple of plays across the middle, a couple of red zone plays. So things that I've seen him do in the past, I saw him doing today, and that's a good sign. Look,
and I don't want to, devalue third down and red zone. Those are massive, massive portions to what you're doing in football. And by all means, if the Saints believe that Jimmy Graham at 37, 38 years old is your best option in the red zone and on third downs, then they should keep him if that's the way they feel. But I also would say that Juwan Johnson's probably a little tougher to cover. And Foster Moreau is 6'4", 250. That's pretty good size in the red zone and on third downs. If the Saints were like LSU last year, who showed up to preseason practice and they were looking and they go, well, we got Cole Taylor, who hasn't really done anything but gotten his shoe thrown. We got Mason Taylor, who's a freshman who was like a 3-star. And then, we might put Jack Mashburn out there sometimes. He played quarterback in high school, and he's kind of beefed up and plays some fullback. Well, yeah, bring in your equivalent of Jimmy Graham. I realize it's not apples to apples because you're severely lacking at that spot. I look at the Saints tight end room and go, that's a good room. You got Juwan Johnson, who's tough to cover, wide receiver background, good hands, good speed. You got Foster Moreau, established NFL vet, got rapport with your quarterback, got size, got strength, can be physical at the line of scrimmage, can help you on third downs. And you got Taysom Hill, who does a lot of stuff that no one else in the NFL does. That's just where I am on the tight ends. I'm not going to harp on it much anymore, and it's great to hear that Jimmy Graham was back and doing some really good things, but I just don't know if I'm all in on the fact that Jimmy Graham is – I think if he'd had this career and this – early season surge for the Jets or the Chiefs, there may not be as much fanfare around it. Maybe I'm being unfair. I don't know. It's just the way I feel about the situation. Moving from a Saint with a lot of skins on the wall and very little tread on the tires to a new player who there's hope can be a big-time force for this organization in time. And that's, of course, your first-round pick, Bryan Bresee. And I mentioned on Monday after watching the game on Sunday that I just didn't think Bresee popped very much. Yeah, he back there to recover the fumble. That's great, but that was Peyton Turner's play. Working against the second-team line, I was looking for a little bit more. But Malcolm Roach spoke today, and it's a little bit of a longer bite on Bryan Bresee, and he had glowing things to say about the Saints' first-rounder.
He like a big kid. Like, he a big kid, and the thing that's scary is that he don't even know how to play the game. Like, he don't even know he doing it right yet. You get what I'm saying? Like, I tell him, I say, bro, don't even focus on the technique sometimes. Just go run through it and just mess up the play. Because if you start thinking it'll take away from just your God-given ability. I mean, he like 6'5", 6'6", about 315, humongous, cat-like quickness, could jump off the ball. Like, he like a dream-built D lineman. You get what I want to say? Like, so him just being able to jump off the ball that fast, and I say, man, just mess the play up. just go out there, mess the play up. They can't block you. Just go full speed. And you get tired, we get somebody in there, get some water, go back in there, go full speed. So that's really the only advice I tell them. I say, man, we could focus, after we get done with your rookie year, we could focus on the offseason, you learning the techniques of, how to play D-line and the positions you need to get your body into. But right now, just go mess up plays and just cause disruption. And that's what he's been doing.
But you're still more. I thought that was a fascinating soundbite because you're talking about Malcolm Roach, who's been a professional for 4 years, who was an undrafted player who really had to be technically sound in everything he was doing. Because at that point, when you're an undrafted player and you're trying to make a team, 2 bad days gets you cut. 2 bad reps can get you on the wrong side of the bubble. Brian Brzee has the luxury. He's a first-round pick. He's going to be around. And he's got the dream body and the ability to do some things athletically that a lot of people that size can't do. And Malcolm Roach sees that, which is incredible to me and fascinating to me. Like, hey, man, I can teach you how to do this. I've had to do it my whole time. And you'll eventually have to do that when you're a starter in this league and a Pro Bowl caliber player. Right now, like, you're a depth piece for us and you're a freak. So if you don't know exactly what to do, like, hey, just blow something up and the other 10 guys will respond to that. To me, that's a fascinating take. It's 2 guys in totally different situations, from totally different situations. And the guy who is the smart guy in the room, who does know what it takes to be a player at this level, looking at the freak talent going, you got it. And we just got to teach you a little bit. Just do what's instinctive to you. And I think that's really encouraging. Roach, by all accounts, has just had a phenomenal training camp. We've had Luke Johnson on every week for the past month, and he's brought up Roach a few times. And the Saints needed overhaul on that defensive front. They did not stop the run nearly well enough. David Onyemata had his time in New Orleans. Shai Tuttle had his time in New Orleans. They weren't great last year. Time for an overhaul. Colin Saunders, Malcolm Roach, but you know the names by now, and they're going to add Brian Brzee to that mix. But it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not a plug-and-play first-rounder. It's a depth first-rounder, and hopefully the guys that they've signed and kept around in front of him can carry the load until he's ready to roll. Malcolm Roach seemed to think they can make that work. That's our Saints chatter for the day. When we come back, we'll chat with our guy Travis Brown from the Bryan College Station Eagle. How are things looking in Aggie Land with Jimbo and Petrino, that offense, and a team coming off a 5-7 season? That's next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's storm season. We know that. Get a generator. Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have operated Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years down here in South Louisiana. They are a certified Generac generator dealer, and not just that, they're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide. The process is pretty simple. You call them on the same number that they've had for 40 years. 40 years at Boudreaux Electric. It's 985-397-1562. You give them a call. They send a technician out to customize a generator for you. They understand where you live, size of your home, what you want that generator to do, whether it's power the entire house, as if the power never went out, or you just need to keep the AC, fridge, and freezer rolling, and you'll be just fine. Either way, they can make that happen for you. And whoever comes to your home, it's not going to be somebody that's contracted to just do one job. Every employee at Boudreaux's Electric that installs generators and maintains generators is a full-time employee of Boudreaux's Electric. So you know you've got a true professional coming to your home. And with that true professional and that customized generator comes a free 10-year warranty on that Generac generator. Boudreaux's Electric, been in the business for 40 years. Call them at 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
a taco more than just a taco when it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never.
Charles Henniger, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from the brand new Town Square Pizza in downtown Baton Rouge. Dwayne Colucci is with us, Matt Humans is with us, and Jacob Hester making an appearance on Live at Lunch. It's Thursday, 11 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes time to talk Aggies, we always visit with our guy Travis Brown from the Bryan College Station Eagle. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Travis, thanks for the time. How are you, man?
Hey, can't complain other than just trying to stay cool, man.
Everybody is this time of year. Cool weather will be here sometime in late October, I guess. So we'll make it until then. How's Jimbo Fisher doing these days? How's the mood?
You know, he has seemed to find a little bit of confidence in the way things are going through fall camp. He has seemed to mesh well with his kind of new CEO role and letting Bobby Petrino take over the offense and kind of manage that. And so it's created a little bit of newfound confidence isn't the right word, but he certainly has been perky coming through fall camp with all the changes that have been made. And I think from the way you can glean how he's been talking, he thinks there's some pretty special stuff with this Aggie team this year.
I'm curious to players, when you talk to them, does 5 and 7 ever come up, or are we just full steam ahead?
I think it comes up with how they approach the offseason, how they kind of went about self-scouting. But I think that there is a pretty strong push to move on, move forward, and kind of think about what's coming ahead, because they did make the changes to the offense. They did bring in Bobby Petrino, and they have a lot of the pieces they need to move forward. So a little bit of retrospection, but I think a lot of it, at this point at least, is looking ahead, looking forward to the season.
Is there a real quarterback battle there?
By every indication from Jimbo there is, I would be shocked if it is anybody other than Connor Wegman with how he finished out the season. And if you just look at some of the deeper stats, he was quicker to get the ball out. He was much better on passes over 20 yards. He did have a more turnover-worthy passes, but he also didn't throw an interception. So a little bit more of that high risk, high reward with him. And I think that he's going to be the guy. I'd be pretty shocked if Max Johnson was named the starter. But, by every indication, they haven't told anybody who the starter is going to be yet. And it's still anybody's game, according to the coaches.
Let's look at that offensive line, which was such a problem last year. You return a lot of it, all of it in some cases. But what do you make of the Aggie offensive line? Because I don't really have to ask you about the playmakers. They look phenomenal on the outside.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think what I've told people is the season's going to go the way the offensive line goes. If they play well, if they show signs of improvement, like you said, they have the skill players around the outside to really move the ball and do some good things in offense. But if they don't give Connor Wigman or whoever the quarterback is enough time back there, if they don't open up holes to kind of help establish the run game, it's going to be a pretty moot point for the offense because there's going to be a lot of 3 and outs like there was last season. I'm really curious about this offensive line because, like you said, they returned just about everybody, but that also means that they didn't really add any pieces. They didn't go to the transfer portal to try to bolster some of the line with some veteran guys. And 3 of the 5 starters were out either in spring practice or the start of fall camp, and so I don't know how much as an offensive lineman you can improve and take steps while you're injured, but I'll be sure to see because I think that's exactly the biggest question line of the season is how the offensive line goes is how the team's going to go.
We obviously won't know until September the 9th down in Miami when they take on the Hurricanes, but if you had to guess based on practices you've watched, press conferences you've been to, what is the Bobby Petrino impact on the offense? Tempo, rhythm, deep, how is this supposed to be tangibly different?
I think there's going to be a little bit more of Bobby Petrino seeing what tools he has in front of him and formulating the offense, formulating the playbook around the strengths and the what they have in the locker room. I think oversimplifying things a little bit, but the problem with Jimbo Fisher's offense over the last year or couple of years is the fact that he was pretty stubborn on how he thought offense should be run, and it was complicated. It was old school, and it was technical, and it was that he tried to get quarterbacks to fit his system. He didn't try to fit a system around who his quarterback was. And so I think there'll be a little bit more flexibility with Bobby Petrino and a little bit more adaptability with Bobby Petrino on what that offense looks like. He's about getting the ball to the studs is what he said. So there are going to be different ways that they get the ball into Nye Smith's hands and Evan Stewart's hands. So I think there will be a noticeable effect there, assuming that the offensive line can hold up their end of the bargain.
Where's the strength of the defense in your estimation at this point?
Definitely got to be the defensive line. I mean, they're rolling 2 to almost 3 deep of guys who could start around the SEC, especially with how the haul they pulled in that 2022 recruiting or 2020, the big one, 2022 recruiting class. And those guys have another year under their belt. I think run stopping should be pretty successful. I'm going to be interested to see what pass rush looks like. And I think that's less about the players and a little bit more about DJ Durkin's scheme. He's a guy who hasn't really been aggressive with some of his play calling over the years, especially last year at A&M. It wasn't a lot of exotic voices or bringing guys from the outside or anything like that. And their pass rush struggled last year. And so I'll be interested to see if he lets loose a little bit more this year, especially with some of the guys that they have, and give some different looks to some guys. I talked to Will Rogers at SEC Media Days, and that was kind of his point. He said putting words in his mouth. He says if you've seen DJ Durkin once, you've seen him 1,000 times because he's kind of does the same thing, and you kind of know what to expect from him. So I'll be interested to see if they mix things up on defense a little bit more.
Talking Texas A&M Aggies with Travis Brown of the Bryan College Station Eagle. Travis, the opener with New Mexico shouldn't be any problem for the Aggies. How big is week 2 at Miami for this program?
I think it'll be a good testing point. I think kind of like last year too, I think Miami comes into the season with as many question marks as A&M does. So I don't know if we know what Miami is yet to know how much of a measuring stick it'll be, but it is another Power 5 opponent. It's on the road. So I think it'll be a spot to see how the team has improved from last year. I think really when you have to start getting into, Arkansas at AT&T Stadium, when you really want to say, okay, now it's on and let's see what A&M really has.
Yeah, I look at the schedule, and obviously it's a tough draw from the East, where you get at Tennessee as your across division rival there. What does Jimbo Fisher need to accomplish in this year to keep things steady over there in College Station?
I mean, I think first to start with the offense looking more competent than it was last year. I think, especially since it was Jimbo Fisher's baby, and he had the Cheesecake Factory play sheet over on the sidelines, calling things. If he shows that he was able to adapt to bring in an offensive coordinator who mixed up the offense, made it a little less vanilla, brought some motions in and some different looks, I think that is going to go a long way, because probably if that happens, they're going to win more games, and that helps too. But they need to be showing that things are trending upward, that even if they don't make it to 9 or 10 wins this year, they at least make it to 8 and are winning the games that they should win, because it was a huge step backward. So I think as long as the offense looks like there's promise moving forward and that things are trending up, that'll be good for Jimbo Fisher. But then it's really on next season, because I think that's the season that expectations will be through the roof.
That was literally my next question. The coaches and players would never say that, but you speak to guys that are and girls that are covering the team with you. Is the thought that when that big recruiting class are juniors, you've got Wigman or Johnson back for another year, all kind of signs are pointing towards a big splash potentially in 2024?
I would think so. I think that as long as, like I said, things look competent across the board, moving forward and look like they're trending upward, I think there would be some ability from the fan base to have a little bit of leeway, give a little leeway to the coaching staff and say that, okay, building to 2024, that's going to be the year, that's going to be the time that they need to break out. And, what better year than the one that they welcomed Texas and Oklahoma back into the conference. I think that'll be a huge thing to watch as well. But I would think that there could be some leeway this season if it looks like next season could be something special.
Travis, thanks so much for your time. Enjoy some football next weekend, and we'll catch up down the road probably a little after Thanksgiving.
You got it, guys. Take care.
That is Travis Brown, Bryan College Station Eagle, always the guy we go to for Texas A&M talk. I'll take a second to talk about that. That is a realistic thing. To be, if you were a Texas A&M supporter and you would go, oh my God, Jimbo Fisher already been in A&M for 6 years. You're looking at year 7. You're not even attempting to compete, and that's ridiculous and all that. And that's fine if you want to go that route and feel that way and criticize A&M that way. Lord knows nobody wants to criticize A&M more than me. But if you look at the signing class they brought in, and the guys that got playing time last year up front on defense with Shamar Stewart and Walter Nolan, and you look at, they could have Shamar Turner being one. They could have 4 or 5 stars playing on the defensive front next year that are upperclassmen. And you look at Connor Wigman, who looked pretty competent as a freshman quarterback 2 years later as a junior. In the way that they have recruited, which has been pretty good, like, it's realistic to forecast them as a contender next year. I'm not going to say that about this team. I've got my doubts, specifically about the schedule, where you've got a game at Tennessee, You're at LSU. You still got to play Alabama. You're at Ole Miss, who's been a thorn in your side. Like, I'm not quite ready to do that. Not that they're not going to have to play those teams next year outside of Tennessee, but it would really have to fall apart and then have a mass exodus transfer-wise to feel like 2024 couldn't be a pretty good year for A&M. And keep in mind, College Station isn't Baton Rouge or Tuscaloosa right now. In Baton Rouge, there's an expectation set to get to Atlanta, to win the SEC, and to win a national championship, and that's a very attainable thing that we don't feel like we should have to wait for very long. It happens for us every 3, 4, 5 years, right? Like, that's what it's been for 20 years. A&M's never had that. No one watching Texas A&M football has ever had that. They've never been to Atlanta for the SEC championship game, and they've never won a national championship in any of their lifetimes. So there's a little bit of a different perspective to, like, what could be. Think about how you would feel about LSU's basketball team if you had a bunch of sophomores who were 5 stars that took a big step up from their junior year. You would feel differently about that in Baton Rouge than they would in Lexington. They would say, why didn't they get it done when they were sophomores? Like, what are we waiting on? Here in Baton Rouge, you'd be like, well, I mean, we could be pretty good next year, right? Like, there's just a different expectation level. And A&M does expect to win. They think they have the facilities and the money and the coach and the recruiting ground and the recruiting classes to get it done. And maybe they'll win 10 games this year. I'm betting against that. But when you look at them on paper and you look at a team next year that would have Connor Wigman at quarterback and Le'Veon Moss at running back and Evan Stewart out at wide receiver, Donovan Green back at tight end, you may have everybody back on your offensive line, and then a really strong defensive front of juniors who were 5 stars. Like, I can make the case. I don't want to make the case, but I'm just looking at it objectively. So that'll probably be the song and dance in College Station as long as they're between 7 and 8 wins. You get to 9 or 10, you really feel like you've turned a corner. You fall back down to 5 or 6. You lose to Miami. You can't beat Arkansas with KJ Jefferson. You lose to Alabama and Tennessee. That's 3 in a row. Maybe you lose at Ole Miss, and then you finish the season getting beat in Tiger Stadium, and you've lost 5 or 6 games. All of a sudden, yeah, I'm willing to tell you that at 6-6, there could be some real issues in College Station. Like, that's very possible, too. This thing can go a lot of different directions. But there's a foundation there of really, really good players that just may need to grow up a little bit. I'm cheering against them loudly. Come back, we'll do some SEC bowl projections for this coming year, as well as some SEC projections from The Athletic that have a blue blood of the East in big trouble. That's next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team been in the game for 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Maybe it's a full-scale bathroom renovation. Maybe you need the whole thing done. Floors, shower, all your David Duvall and his team are licensed contractors. They can handle all of it. And you don't have to call 4 contractors. You call 1. David does the whole thing. Maybe it's something simple. You're not Hunt Palmer. You don't have a 19-month-old who treats the bathtub like it's a wrestling ring and tries to dive all over the place and splashes everywhere and creates just an absolute nightmare in the bathtub. You don't even use your bathtub because you're not Hunt Palmer. Well, then take it out. Put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Changes the aesthetic of your bathroom and the functionality of it. David Duvall and his team can make that happen for you. Go to onebathandclosets.com. Request that free consultation. Look at the testimonials on the website and some pictures of their great work, and let David Duvall and his team come in and recreate your bathroom. It's onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. Brian Kelly updates fall camp. We'll let you hear from the coach, and we'll continue our tour around the SEC, checking in on Missouri. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I promise we're like a week away from not having to dive too deep into preseason prognostications. We're less than a week away from that. Next Tuesday, we can actually start talking about real matchups and whatnot, but I'm not going to burn through that a week early. I'm going to do a lot of Florida State study this weekend. Looking forward to it. I intentionally don't do that at the front of August. One, injuries and whatnot. They had a defensive lineman that was denied a waiver. And plus, I just don't want that information in my head that's going to come out earlier than it needs to. So we'll be content heavy on Florida State next week. But this time, it's time for some thoughts from national media on some preseason things. And ESPN had Mark Schlabach and Kyle Bonagura go through and do their bowl projections. And so I thought it was interesting to take a look. The Final Four, Bonagura has Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida State as his Final Four. That's some high praise for the Seminoles. Schlabach has Michigan, USC, Georgia, and Ohio State. So both have Michigan, both have Georgia, and then a combination of Alabama, USC, Florida State, and Ohio State make up the rest of their Final Four. So that's pretty chalky, except for Florida State, which I think is a good pull from Bonagura. They both have Georgia in the national championship game. Bonagura has them against Alabama. Schleybaugh has them against Michigan. That is very chalky, as it were. You curious where they have LSU slotted? Both have them in the New Year's Six. Mark Schleybaugh has LSU playing Texas in the Cotton Bowl, which would be awesome. I know that losses hurt and you want to be in the playoff, and I'm really pulling for all that and hopeful for all that as well. But LSU and Texas in Arlington would be a lot of fun. I think you'd get a lot of LSU fans to go to that. Clearly, you'd get a lot of LSU fans to go to that, and that would be a big-time environment. The other one is a wild projection from Bonagura. LSU in the Peach Bowl. I haven't driven you off the road yet with that, against Tulane. Can we do me a favor here? Can everybody associated with everything do me a favor? Can we stop considering Tulane among the top 25 player teams in college football? Can we please? I know what happened last year in the Cotton Bowl. I'm aware of what their record was last year. Tulane is not good, okay? They're not. And they're not going to a New Year's Six Bowl this year either. They got a good coach. That's fine. They still don't have great players. They still have no fan base. And they're not going to a New Year's Six Bowl 2 years in a row. It's not happening. It's Tulane, okay? So it's a cute story from last year, and I don't give a rip about Tulane football. I hated their baseball program 20 years ago. I don't anymore. They're a non-factor. But when they were beating me and knocking me out of super regionals, as to quote MJ in the doc, I took that personally. I don't like when you beat my baseball team, and Tulane did, so I didn't like them. I don't care about their football team. I don't hate them at all. I wish them all the success in the world. They're still not any good. So they're not going to the Chick-fil-A Bowl, Peach Bowl with LSU. That's not happening. But if LSU's not going to make the playoffs, you can mark me down for a Cotton Bowl against Texas. That sounds just fine to me. So that's the thoughts on the bowl games from the ESPN staff. Stuart Mandel from The Athletic put together his SEC prediction piece. And a couple of these are a little spicy. You go to the East, and it's not overly spicy until you get to the bottom. He's got Georgia 8-0. He's got Tennessee 6-2. Very plausible in both respects. South Carolina 5-3. A lot of people like what Shane Beamer's doing. Spencer Rattler was great late. Okay, gotcha, 5-3 there. Missouri at 4-4, fine. That would surprise me a little bit if they went 500, especially drawing LSU from the other side, but it is what it is. Kentucky 4-4, that's about right. I think you can probably pencil Kentucky in for 4-4 the rest of the Stoops era. That's about what they're going to be. And then they got Vanderbilt at 2-6, which is not at the bottom because obviously by now you know since I've rolled through, he has got Florida at 1-7 and 2-9, 3-9 overall. That means he's got them losing to Florida State, Utah, and 7 SEC games. I guess Billy Napier would survive that. If your recruiting class looks good and you just want to dump all the ice water on Dan Mullen. But I'm sorry, 1-7 in the league and 3-9 may be a ticket out of town. Like, I know it was bad, and I know Richardson's gone, and I don't think anybody feels like Graham Mertz is about to win the Heisman. But that is some kind of pick at 3-9 for the Florida Gators. So what do you think? What does Stuart Mandel think about the SEC West? We'll start at the bottom where he's got Mississippi State at 1-7. I don't think Mississippi State's going 1-7. They've got a veteran defense back that was pretty good last year, a super veteran quarterback, and some pretty good weapons on the outside. They're still outmanned 1-85, and I still don't think they're going to win the West, but they're not going 1-7. Arkansas at 2-6 is surprising. With that quarterback and that running back, that would be a really disappointing run and maybe big trouble for Sam Pittman because he's got them going 5-7. If they did that, Pittman would enter next year in a little bit of a different situation. Auburn at 3-5, 7-5. I think Auburn fans would be thrilled with that. Win 3 league games. You do draw Vanderbilt, but if you win 3 league games, I think you're moving in the right direction there on the Plains. Ole Miss at 4-4, 8-4. That's about chalk for them. He's got A&M at 4-4 as well, 8-4. That's about chalk for them. Those two programs are on fairly level footing at this point. even though it seemed like A&M bottomed out last year and Ole Miss was really on the ascent, when in actuality Ole Miss just fell apart the last part of the season and A&M just was bad all year. But they're both middle-of-the-road SEC programs right now. Then he's got the second-place team in the SEC West at Alabama, which shouldn't shock you that he would pick Alabama to be second in the SEC West. Many people are doing that. What would shock you potentially and surprises me and would really surprise me if Alabama went 6-3 in the league. 6-3 doesn't make any sense. You have to go 6-2. Maybe that's I guess 5-3 is what he's looking for. It's just a misprint in here because I'm looking at the story and it says 6-3. But he does say that he picks Alabama to lose 3 games. So 5-3 is what we're looking at there, and has him 9-3 overall. So that would be stunning to me. And then the blurb on Alabama is it feels sacrilegious to think that Saban may have only the 4th best team in the conference. But there are a lot of questions. Is Tommy Rees the guy for the job? Is Jalen Milroe really the best option at quarterback? Is there enough quality play at wide receiver? Is defensive coordinator Kevin Steele an improvement? At the risk of looking really dumb, I have the Tide losing 3 games. At some point, I feel like if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, these questions seem to be legitimate. And there's always going to be those folks that are going to side with Alabama no matter what because of what they've accomplished. And that's a safe place to be. But it's not like there's one person calling for Alabama to step back. It's a lot. It might look like a duck and quack like a duck. I sure hope so. Make things fun in Baton Rouge, especially if it happens the way that Stuart Mandel says and LSU gets to the SEC championship game for the 2nd consecutive year. Incidentally, his blurb on LSU, Brian Kelly's got it all. The dynamic playmaker and quarterback at Jaden Daniels, superb pass catchers in Malik Davis, Neighbors, and Kyron Lacey, 5 returning offensive linemen, depth at tailback, 2 dominant interior defensive linemen, and 2 star linebackers in Harold Perkins and Omar Spakes. But can the Tigers outmuscle Georgia? Brian Kelly said probably not in the preseason, but guess we'll cross that bridge if we're fortunate enough to get to it in December. We'll come back, close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in the action than right now. The app's so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options that include spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045 ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues and knowledgeable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means It's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
Thursday's OTB. One day closer to college football, we continue to break down the Tigers and the Saints. Plus, we'll follow our college football preview with a little NFL off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Got a mention or two in my my Twitter about me picking on Tulane. They are going to be good. No, they're not. They're Tulane. They're not going to be good. Good story last year. Not going to be good. All right, let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The White Sox fired Executive Vice President Ken Williams and GM Rick Hahn in a losing season in a sell-off at the trade deadline. There's also rumors that the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, could be looking to sell the team, and rumors of relocating to Nashville. The Sox will be vacating the South Side. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I think Nashville's going to get a team sooner or later, but it'll probably be expansion. I just don't think they're going to relocate. If they're going to relocate somebody, it's probably Tampa. Reinsdorf's 87, and everybody in Chicago that's a Bulls fan and a White Sox fan hates him because they haven't done anything in years, and he just kind of hires his yes men. One of the funny stories that came out of this is that, you know, the biggest botch that they did was hiring Tony La Russa to be their manager with that really, really good young core.
Yeah.
And when they sent out Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams, they brought Tony La Russa back in as a consultant, which is just mind-boggling. But I guess if you're 87, you think people that are 87 can do great work. He's going to keep him in Chicago. He ought to sell him because he's a terrible owner. But they're not leaving the South Side. As much as I like to pick on the little brother, they're going to stick around Chicago.
MLB placed Rays shortstop Wander Franco on administrative leave amid multiple investigations into his private life. I'll leave it at that. Franco was an all-star, slashing .281, .344, .475 with 17 homers and 30 stolen bases. Losing Franco will be devastating to the Rays' World Series hopes. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, he's their best player, so it has to. Now, they seem to find guys somehow, some way, and do things they're not supposed to do. So I trust that organization to put a competent product on the field in September and then into the postseason, however far they do go. But as far as winning the whole thing, you take your best player off the team, it's tough to do. Now, the Braves got there without Acuna, and that's incredible. But I would bet against the Rays doing that.
Last one here. Alex Lang closed out the Cubs last night for the Tigers. Losses to an LSU guy are easier to take. Take it or leave it.
You know what? I was prepared to say I'll leave it, but I'll take it.
Wow.
I'll take it.
If it was the NFL where a loss was like a really big deal, like I might be able to get on board with it. But the Cubs can. I was furious that they lost. The pitching was bad last night, and they had a couple of chances late, especially the 8th inning, and they couldn't get it done. But, like, I still not up there, like, furious at Alex Lang. Like, if that was some Cardinals pitcher out there that I never heard of, I would just despise him. And, like, that's my guy out there. That's Lang. So, I mean, I'm not happy that he closed the game out, but, like, I still like him. So maybe there's a sliver there of, like, that may be a little bit better. Again, I desperately wanted someone to hit it 450 feet off of him and win the game. That would be much, much better. But I do think there's probably a piece that's like, oh, well, that's good, Al. I hope you stay up. That's good. If we had to lose, I'd rather he do it than some guy I never heard of, and certainly somebody that's pitching for the Cardinals. So maybe that's a bad answer. Maybe I'm embarrassed for myself. Maybe that's not the way I should feel, but I'm just bearing it all here. I thought, man, he looked really good last night. He was throwing hard. He struck Swanson out on a 97-mile-an-hour sinker that nicked the bottom of the zone. He wasn't throwing that at LSU. He was mainly 92, 94 with the fastball, and then had that hammer breaking ball. And he still throws a really good breaking ball, but that sinker he was throwing yesterday, he did not have in Baton Rouge, and it has been a nice weapon for him. And it's nice to see that he's their closer and doing a pretty good job for a terrible baseball team. And my guy Javi, he strikes out a lot. It's just not going so hot for Javi or any of the Cubs that were on that 2016 team that have gone elsewhere. They've all kind of scuffled outside of Rizzo's been okay. All right, that's it for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up with Brian Kelly, sound from practice yesterday. JD Piquel of On3 Sports talking all the different conferences in college football. Was a What If Wednesday. Got a question if I could bring one non-former QB Saints player back to this team, who would it be? Also got asked about Brooks Koepka ripping his shirt off at the Ryder Cup with the big live tattoo. So if you want some of that, you can catch that in hour 1. Dennis Allen sound in hour number 2. Travis Brown talking A&M football at 2:15, and then some preseason bowl projections and SEC projections from some national writers. You can catch all of that on demand at 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, as well as YouTube. We're back with the Thursday show tomorrow, presented by Rouse's. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. Have a good Wednesday.